Mom, say hi.
Hi, what are you doing?
Oh, this will be on my YouTube video. Here's Bub.
What's the YouTube video about?
Well, no, I just send like Christmas greetings, so people can have a look at you, see how you've changed.
Yeah, what happened to this guy? What's his problem? What's he doing here?
What?
He's come back
Yeah.
to make trouble. No.
Well, it's Christmas morning. Well, what that means is really I've been procrastinating this. And by the time you get a hold of it, after I upload it to YouTube, Christmas will be over, so I hope you had a nice one. But I really need to, put something out there because there's some big news here. I made a big change. I've been threatening to do this for a while, and now I saw the opportunity. As most everybody knows, after the reconstitution of Huntington Park High School, it's been a roller coaster ride. There have been a couple of long-term kinds of assignments, and I thought maybe I'd be at Belmont, which would have been okay. Yeah, but Belmont was under intensive scrutiny by the Daisy regime, and they didn't want to keep any of the displaced teachers there. So yeah, I was doing sub work as a displaced teacher, which was actually all right. It's not bad. That went on for 2 years. Then Cortines, our interim, superintendent, decided that that's costing the district too much money. So he decided, no, we're not going to do that anymore. And everybody has to be placed. All the displaced teachers must be placed somewhere. And there were plenty of people around, especially in our union, that applauded that, thought it was great. The thing is, you don't have much of a say in where you get placed, okay? Well, where did they place me? They placed me at Audubon Middle School. Now, I'll say some nice things about Audubon. They've got some great teachers there. I met some really good ones. And, I really didn't have any problem with their principal that much. She was, she's kind of a social butterfly a little bit. That's going to go on YouTube. Sorry, I won't mention her name. But, no, she was really agreeable. She knew that I didn't want to be there. I didn't feel like that was an appropriate place for me. Age group, the community, the location. I just didn't think that would work out very well at all. And I was right. All right. They stuck me with some ESL kids who had driven out about 5 different teachers last year. It's the same little group of kids. And they've learned that they can get away with all kinds of stuff. And that's a problem in LA Unified right now. You haven't heard about it? It's called restorative justice. What it amounts to in LA Unified is the kid does something outrageous, totally disruptive, and in another year, maybe in the past, you could get this kid in trouble for it, all right? They could be sent out of the room. They could possibly even be suspended for certain offenses. Now they don't want to suspend kids anymore, It's not politically correct anymore. So, yeah, the kids learn that they can get away with all kinds of stuff. And under restorative justice, what they do is, in order to restore the situation, you need to, apologize. So they write a letter of apology, with a big grin on their face and take it to you. See? Yeah, and then it's back to whatever. But of course, that's not going to stop people in the district from, blaming you for what happens. You're going to be held accountable. And that was another part of the problem. So I had a really difficult bunch, okay? These ESL kids who had gotten away with murder last year. Then came the whole rigmarole of new standardized tests, all right? Periodic assessments. We used to do those periodic assessments as almost like a learning experience, all right? They were like open book tests, which was kind of appropriate in some ways. It gave you some material to work with. You could discuss it. I'm talking about how it would happen in high school. Now, periodic assessments are going to be tabulated online. You're going to have teachers that students are going to have a teacher's name attached to them. So, as you know, it's not about helping the kids at all. It's about making the teachers accountable. All right. So they rolled out the new battery of standardized tests. Remove any tools you have or you may have had in the past in order to create a learning environment that's going to be successful, and then they're going to hold you accountable. And I just said, no. And I tried to get out of that situation too. I offered some alternatives, but the human resources wouldn't hear of it. Oh no, you've been placed there. They'll put it in the passive voice like that, as if some magical entity has done it. All right, you did it. You did it arbitrarily. So I just said, you know what? I'm 55. That's the magical age. So I retired officially from public education. Now I didn't want to do that just off the cuff. I did some research, and I was thinking, at the time that I'd probably have to do something like this. If things didn't work out, and they didn't. So I found out, I did some research, and I found an organization called Teachers on Reserve. All right, this is an agency. Once they do the paperwork on you, they will place you, or have you do some day-to-day or long-term subbing in private schools, parochial schools, and even some charters. Okay, although I haven't done charters. What they did was they placed me at one particular place, the Hathaway School, and that's worked out. It's a small little place that contracts. They've got several different locations. Some of you might be familiar with Hathaway Sycamore. That's the organization behind it. But the Hathaway schools will contract with districts like Glendale and Burbank, and so they get their money basically from these districts. But they're still a private entity, so that means that I can work for them. I can work for Teachers on Reserve and be placed at a place like Hathaway Schools, and it's worked out. It's a great campus. It's like they're 10 kids, and they've got their problems, but they're 5 adults. So 10 kids, 5 adults, two kids per adult. I mean, it works out. It's not bad. And I'll teach an English lesson and basically help out with everything else. And I've gotten to know the staff, and I've gotten to know the kids pretty well. So I'm happy. So I get my state teacher's retirement, and I get some pay from this organization called Teachers on Reserve. I made the right decision, and I'm out now of LA Unified. Good riddance.
Well, this is what the classroom looks like at the Hathaway School. This was the last day before the Christmas break. Had a little party. That was kind of fun. So I'm on call, I guess, tomorrow and first part of January, and then I'll be back here on the 7th. And it's okay. I know what to expect. Now, I should mention some things about the Hathaway School that I haven't mentioned already. The Hathaway School, they take on kids that just don't fit into the classroom very well. They can't function. And, that's for various reasons. Some of them have emotional difficulty. Some of them just have mild forms of autism or something similar to it. So it's just difficult for them to socialize. And like I said before, they're 10 kids. They're 5 adults. So that's a pretty good ratio. And a couple of the guys are pretty well trained in conflicts and things like that, and dealing with destructive behavior. And they're pretty big, burly guys, so they can handle anything physical, and nothing's really happened, okay? To tell you the truth. I think I had a former student of mine ask me online whether, do I really have the patience for this? Hey, come on, dealt with you guys, didn't I? I don't find them to be any more, crazy or nutty than a lot of the kids that I dealt with at Huntington Park High School, many of them. But there's a whole different attitude, okay, compared to what you've got going on in LA Unified right now. At the Hathaway School, they understand that the kids have the problems here. And the job is to try to, change the kids, alter their behavior, change their habit patterns, so they can function in society. It's a complete opposite attitude in LA Unified right now, under restorative justice. Okay, it's about making teachers and adults accommodate the kids, making them fulfill the wishes of the kids. The kids were on the show anymore. And you can't really teach very effectively under those kinds of circumstances. So I'm really quite happy to be gone. Yeah.
Stacy took care of the two rooms, the two playrooms. Jim just had the basketballs and they were fine. I put the two high chairs back. So they were
I
taking.
took care of cleaning the kitchen.
Yeah, we did the kitchen, and Jason, Stacy, and Susie took care of the playroom. So I'm assuming it was okay.
How about the heaters? Did you turn it off?
No, we turned off all the lights.
Heat didn't get turned off.
I didn't.
Did Tony was Tony looking at him?
I don't know.
Oh no, we didn't do the heaters then. Not to my knowledge. Okay, what do you want? What do you want? Hey, hey! Gizmo! Gizmo!
You gonna try her again?
Well, I think she's thirsty. And her water's out there.
Gizmo.
That's
Yeah.
the weirdest name.
Gives more trouble than you're worth.
That was you that thought the name, or was that Suzanne?
Susie. Got it off the movie Gremlins.
Why do you like the word lady?
Well, there's other choices besides lady.
Well, that's what she came with. That was her name when we picked her up.
Oh. Well, does she know her name?
Oh yeah, she knows
Oh,
Gizmo.
yeah.
Oh yeah, she knows.
Because Talitha knew her name.
Oh yeah, Mickey knew his name. Gizmo! Hi, baby! Go drink some more. Do you need to go potty again since you've been drinking a lot?
She talks.
The view from my window on a December day with the sun going down. Now, there are still a few hassles working for teachers on reserve. One is medical insurance. No, they don't provide medical insurance. So, right now I'm using Cobra, which, allows you to kind of get what you've had with LA Unified, but you have to pay for it. Part of my settlement was a lump sum of money that I took, and I was able to knock out my credit card debt. So that'll make it easier to make my Cobra payments for medical insurance. Now, the problem is, you know what, you're paid by the day. So, if you don't work a day, but say you have a doctor's appointment or something like that, you're out of luck. You don't get paid for that day. And I really need to work this summer. Probably in April, I suspect that I'll be doing some subbing in some public school districts. You can do that, but there's a limit to how much you can make with that. But it would open up some doors for me, Hopefully, I can get to know some people. Maybe in Alhambra. I'd like to go back to Alhambra. And perhaps it'll open up some doors for a summer school job of some kind. Get to know some people. Make yourself known. We'll see what happens. So, things are going pretty good for me, I have to admit. All right? It's a really wise decision I made to get at LA Unified. I'm collecting my state teacher's retirement and working for Teachers on Reserve. But it wouldn't really be a Christmas video, would it, if it didn't include some sort of a rant? And I do have one, all right? I have gone through some major ideological changes, okay? Just recently, as a result of my experiences in LA Unified and dropping the ball there. Number of things. Now, number one has to do with charter schools. Yeah, I've always been opposed to charter schools because I considered it just a way of exploiting the system a little bit. You have profit-making corporations who step in and they're going to try to, make money off of schooling, okay? Bad idea, just like HMOs were a bad idea. Medicine for profit, prisons for profit, all this stuff these are bad ideas, all right? But schools for profit are also a bad idea. However, there are some charters, especially if you get some independent charters that are, have a lot of parent involvement, or maybe parents are responsible for. They're not such a terrible thing, really. One argument that used to be leveled against charter schools was, that charters, because, they usually take the cream of the crop, and they're able to do that by their entrance requirements, and some of them have things like portfolios that they're required to, that the kids are required to submit, and they make parents have sort of obligations that they sign, the contract that they sign, things like that. So they're able to get the cream of the crop in many cases. And the argument has always been, well, they're creating a two-tiered educational system. And I look at that argument now and I think, so the problem is what? Okay. When you have kids, and it doesn't take very many of them, especially in an inner city environment, who insist on being disruptive, and when they can do it with impunity, the way they can in LA Unified right now, it makes it virtually impossible to teach. And the only solution that LA Unified has come up with is to blame the teacher. We'll say that they have a classroom management problem. We need to pull that teacher out of the classroom and put them into some sort of reinforcement program, like PARS. It's another one. I forget what the acronym stands for. But I've seen a lot of teachers just railroaded, and it's been ridiculous. So, coming back to the idea of a two-tiered, or maybe even a three-tiered educational system, that doesn't sound so terrible to me. Okay? If kids insist on being disruptive, if they don't want to cooperate, they don't want to be where they're at, the parents are somewhere else, and why should everybody else in the classroom, be subjected to their interference? Some districts have addressed this issue by creating another institution. All right, send the kids to some other place. There's another campus that they could go to, kind of like the Hathaway School, a little bit. And there, they can be well supervised, and they could be hopefully trained so they can cooperate and exist in a classroom with other peers, with other equals, rather than trying to hog all the attention or disrupt the situation or cheat or whatever. They can be dealt with in that way. And there's some districts that are doing that. So the idea of a two-tiered or maybe a three-tiered educational system in public school, to me, that's not such a bad idea, all right? Why should all of our attention be focused, like it is in LA Unified, on teaching you the lowest common denominator when there are some kids who could really excel, all right? If they're given the opportunity to do that. So yeah, the door should always be open in the tiers, but, kids who can function and can excel, they should not be penalized for the behavior of others. That's one issue. Here's another argument that used to be put forward about, and this had to do with Teach for America teachers. Well, what they are really is, they're recent college grads, and often they need to have some sort of credit on their student loan because you know what the student loans are like. And they'll get some credit if they teach in a difficult school, a school that's kind of hard to find teachers for. All right. So yeah, there they are, and they can get some credit on their student loans that way. And the argument is always, well, they haven't received the proper training. They're not credentialed. Well, you know what? I remember this. Back in Huntington Park, when we used to get new teachers, there were a bunch of us who would just make every effort to pull these guys aside and deprogram them. Because, we knew that they were going to get all kinds of BS in teacher pressure preparation programs, especially some, like UCLA, all right? Just nonsense is going to be thrown at them about what the nature of kids is like and what schools are all about. And we'd have to sort of deprogram them, like I said. And most of the time it was successful. We were able to sort of get them on board and let them see what's really going on in schools and how to really handle situations. So this argument that, CFA students or others are just not receiving the proper training that they should have. Well, who's making that argument? It's the teacher preparation programs, okay? The people who are involved in that. They're the ones that are raising those objections. Another one had to do with standardized tests. Yeah, okay. We tend to go overboard with standardized tests. We do, All right. And now that was one of the things that drove me out of LA Unified, realizing that things like those periodic assessments are going to be online, and they're going to have a name attached to them, and every teacher is going to be evaluated on the basis of them. They're not about helping kids at all, really. So yeah, we're overboard on standardized tests, but the idea of standardized tests themselves, you know what? They can actually give you some information about what kids are actually learning or not learning. If they're done well, if you have good tests. Now, Common Core tests, we've got something called Smarter Balance tests that are supposedly they're based on Common Core. Yeah, many times they're not developmentally appropriate. They're also just, they're meant to create failure, is what they are. So that everybody can say, oh my goodness, the schools are failing. We need to bring in more charter schools, you know. And yeah, it's an anti-union kind of thing. But even so, you know, I don't have a problem really with standardized tests per se. Everybody's afraid that this is another thing, you know. Oh, the poor children, they're being traumatized. You know, they're crying over these tests. Well, I haven't seen any kids crying over standardized tests. You know, most of what I see happening, or I've seen it for years, is kids making little Christmas trees out of the bubbles and just taking them, you know, with no seriousness at all. All right. So that's what I've seen in LA Unified, and people, you know, want to make a big case about how terrible they are for kids. I don't think so. Okay, kids have been tested for centuries. All right. Well, we tend to go overboard with them, and I don't see that any need for more than maybe once a year or something like that. But standardized tests don't bother me at all. Okay. So yeah, I've changed. And now, whenever I hear, you know, see an organization, a Facebook group or something like that purports to be opposed to, you know, the corporate reform agenda or the corporate reform agenda, I sort of take a closer look at them and see what they're about. Are they a big pity party for kids, or are they actually in favor of legitimate public education? You know, you have to sort of like examine things a little bit more carefully. Well, that pretty much summarizes things, I think, at this point in time. Life is pretty good. And life consists of, you know, the school or work, my little apartment here, church, some of my former students who still come by, keep me company, and coffee. Coffee's important. So I hope you have a pretty good 2016. Sorry I didn't get this out earlier, but you know how that goes. What can I say?